everyone, and welcome to the Winging It F1 podcast. This is part 2 of our season review. We're going to be going through some more awards, talking about the season as a whole a bit more. But if you've not checked out our top 5 drivers of the year and our most underrated driver of the year, who may or may not be involved in that, then go and check that out as well. Probably finish this one and then listen to that one, or just do whatever you want. Do it in whatever order you want. This one has a more Christmassy feel because I'm wearing my Christmas in Texas shirt that I got in Texas at Christmas last year. So I'm bringing the Christmas spirit here as Freddie looks around for some Christmassy things to put in and he can't find any. So I'm going to throw to Nigel first. How are you? Are you feeling Christmassy?
Yes, I can't wait for England's quarterfinal against France this weekend. That's a risk because I have no idea when this is coming out. So if it's before or after. Plus, just for context, the England versus Senegal game hasn't happened. So I'm just assuming this is going to come out on like the Thursday or Friday. And I've said that, so it will make sense.
Just over 2 hours
I'm
away.
going to release it on the 17th of December, the day before the final.
That will be very Christmassy.
Yeah, by then I should have come back from Valencia. Or I'll be dead. So,
Freddie, has your Percy Pig advent calendar been good? Better than chocolate?
It's got me excited for Christmas.
Yay!
I get a bag of Percy Pigs.
There we go.
Any time of the year.
Yeah. I definitely get them at Christmas when the shops are shut, so that's good.
And this time last year, we were excited for Christmas, but also excited at the 2022 regulations, all new regulations, as F1 went through tweeting out the best moments of the V6 turbo hybrid era, even though that wasn't finished
to go
yet.
at this point.
So
I think we would have been thinking about 2022, to be honest with that. This time last year with 2 races to go.
We were busy jumping up and down at the Saudi Arabian Grand Prix.
Yeah, we had a therapy session, didn't we, Freddie?
Yeah. I was in Kansas City at a bus stop on an industrial park, listening to it on the radio.
It was good.
I was stuck at the Hamworth train station for 45 minutes trying to get connection to listen to the start on the radio.
Oh, wow.
I was standing at the bus stop going, as many things happened, and I could hear Jack Nichols explaining them. And Jack Nichols is a great commentator, so he did a good job, and I really got the spirit of it. But
go to YouTube just to see Adam's facial expression for that, because if you're listening, you wouldn't have seen it.
People will guess. But now we're a year on from that. We've had the first year of the new regulations. What were your thoughts on them? We'll go to Freddie first.
I mean, I don't know. They're not changed much, have they? The cars can follow a bit closer. I think the cars look cool, and they look cooler than they did. Those are my main thoughts, really. The overtaking has got better. The cars are closer. They also look cool, and that's kind of it for me. I just think the cars look a bit better.
I think they've done the job. I think anyone who thought, it's going to flip the pecking order, and Williams and Haas are going to be at the front, and that kind of thing, and you're living in that's just not going to happen, is it? That's just realistically. So I think the main thing was the racing and the overtaking. That did get better. Rather than struggling at 2 seconds, 2.5 seconds behind in dirty air, it's now more like 1.5 seconds. So then it's easier to get into DRS. I'm also going to give Pirelli some credit as well, because I think the tyres have been very, very good. We got multiple pit stops at quite a few races, and the tyres as well. The drivers could push quite hard. So I think overall, the rules have worked. You can't artificially make some regulations and hope, let's hope 5 teams are going to make a car that's going to be the same pace at the front. This is not going to happen. This is F1. It's going to be 1 or 2 teams at most. That's what happened at the start of the year. Then Red Bull outdeveloped Ferrari, and Ferrari made mistakes. So I think a big plus for me in terms of the rules. I think this is as good as it's going to get in terms of racing for F1, I think.
You ended that with such a sort of sour sentence. Good as it's going to get.
Well, I think it is, because unless they
was good, yeah.
Unless they make the cars a lot slower and and shorter and thinner, it's not going to get better than this. So this is, and that's a good thing, because I think racing has been good. We just need a closer championship fight, but you can't really make that by having new rules. It's just got to happen. So that's what I'd say.
I think it's a big fat TBC from me, because I think it's made the racing better. I don't think you can really kind of deny that or argue against that. And it's kind of, I think tracks like Saudi Arabia, which don't look like they should really work, but they've it produced a fantastic Grand Prix, and I think it's really improved cars being able to follow, and we're just not talking about the problems we were in terms of races last year, and really for a lot of for the second half of the old or for the whole old regulations. But it is disappointing that it has been so kind of one-sided as the season's gone on. So I'm hoping there's stability that allows teams to catch up. But I think it's not, if we have these and it goes back to one team dominating, then that would be a bit of a shame for me, because it's hard to just compare it. It's hard to compare it to last season, because last season was just so good in terms of two teams really equal. So yes, it's unrealistic to expect half the grid to be battling at the front, but it would be nice to hope for a battle at the front consistently, and this didn't really have that, especially as the season wore on. So if it delivered on the better racing, but there wasn't the higher competition. So that's why it's TBC. If that comes over the next few years, then it's a good foundation. If Red Bull continues to dominate, or another team comes through and dominates instead, then it's not kind of really great, to be honest.
I think looking ahead to the next few years is an excellent point, because it whets the appetite for where F1 can be in terms of racing, and add the competition to that, and it'd be excellent. So that's I agree with Nigel's plus.
Is it a big plus?
It's a Swiss flag.
I think it is a big plus.
No, I meant Freddie. Is it a big plus? Do you agree with the size of the plus, or just the symbol?
Again, I think it's just the nature of sport, where these kind of things will seesaw up and down from year to year. Sometimes they'll be really open, sometimes it will be a bit more a closed case, but there'll be potential to it. And I think that's where we were this year, just because of the nature of Red Bull. But that's fine, because I do think it showed that if there was the competition at the front, it would be really exciting and interesting. Like, look at Bahrain, look at Saudi Arabia, look at Austria. I think races like that, where there was a lot going on at the front, and there was a good battle. The sprint in Interlagos was fantastic, and things like that. So show what can be done with this regulation set, coupled with we're starting to properly embed these financial regs now as well. So who knows where that's going to bring in competitive edges or lack of later down the line. So it's the TBC is always going to be in sport, but if we think about it from a sort of here and now, and then 2 or 3 years from now, I think it couples together nicely, and we are allowed to be quite optimistic.
I think, for me, so the last periods after the safety car in Silverstone is a snapshot of like the ideal to me, where you've got 3 teams, and Alonso was getting mixed in there a bit, but where you've got 3 teams being able to battle at the front, some really good racing going on, lots of overtakes.
That was tire.
I don't know.
To be fair,
that's because Leclerc
trying to defend
tires
on slower tires and succeeding for a bit of it meant that it was quite packed.
But I think if you take that snapshot, that's like the ideal in terms of having those 3 teams at the front,
proximity,
preferably an old track that people like, but maybe doesn't make the most money that the FIA would want. But I think that had all the ingredients of what we want to see. I'd just like to, hopefully see that a few more times over the year. But with that, we'll go on to ranking this year in the turbo hybrid era. So I'm interested to see what Freddie and Nigel say, because I think they might have a disagreement. But Nigel, you go first. Where would you rank it?
Somewhere in the middle. So there's been 9 seasons, so 4.5. No, it's 4.4. I'm probably 5th. I think 2015, I'll always say, is the worst season in the turbo hybrid era, unless like next year or 2024 is like even worse as well. I think this is similar to 2019, which was a really good season, which had great races, but no real title fight. There's probably been 1 or 2 less good races, because in 2019, I remember in the summer, there were like 6 races in a row from, I think it was Austria, Germany, Silverstone, Singapore, Monza, and I missed one more.
Hungary. It was excellent. It was brilliant. It was one of the best races of the 2010s.
Yeah, there were 6 races in a row that were classics, and we've not had that this year. But there's still been some excellent races, which we'll talk about soon. So probably just below that, probably like 5th, maybe 6th-ish.
Ready?
Yeah, I kind of agree. I think there are a few seasons that might have been a touch better, but I feel like I have the same feeling towards the season as Nigel. That, like he says, you compare it to 2019. Excellent season, but also sometimes it wasn't excellent, and it was just a bit.
Yeah, I think I'd put 14, 16, 19, and 21 definitely ahead, and then it's just kind of where it slots into, and then 15 and 20 definitely behind, and then it's just kind of where it slots in.
Yeah, that's kind of where I am with it, and
yeah,
you know,
I guess
it all just becomes semantics after a while, because at the end of the day, when you're watching an F1 race, it's watching the lights go out was always going to be great fun. So
yeah,
I
remember after we did a podcast, a review in 2020. People said, "Oh, 2020 is the best season I've ever seen," and like it just wasn't. Sorry, this was 2 years ago. I'm going off on one. I better stop talking.
2020 was a very dramatic year. It's the kind of thing. It depends on how you rank your F1 seasons, and I do kind of think it's hard to sort of rank the in the moment nature of an F1 season in comparison. Like the silly season this year hasn't actually resulted in that many major changes if you compare it to the 2018 going on 19 season, but it's been volatile. So you couldn't look for a weird tweet about like a driver's contract situation. This never happened before. We had it with IndyCar and Formula One in the same year. So you get all that kind of weird stuff that goes into it, and then the sort of off-track nature of 2022 has been really huge. But and you look at things like that, and they all add to the season. Take all sorts to make a season. So
I agree.
It's a hard one to rank them when everything in the moment is itself quite exciting. I'd say.
Well, I've counted it on my fingers and I rank it 6, but I think
that's a lot of fingers. You have 6 fingers on one hand, or
I have 2 hands, famous,
Oh, okay.
Well, not famously, but I do. I'm not
famously. Adam, that guy with the 2 hands. Wow.
I mean, to be fair, it'd be harder to edit the podcast if I had one, so I'm glad that I do. But I'd say, and it would be harder to count up the turbo hybrid season. So it's good for both. But that is a good point. Really, the off-season stuff was just crazy. Like there were so many. Obviously the Alonso then feeding into Piastri going on. The Red Bulls fighting cost cap, which was it wasn't the best story to come out for F1, but it's absolutely huge off-track story. Again, I mean, like Magnussen coming in for the start of the season, which is just forgotten now, unless you read Nigel's 10 things you forgot about the season article.
Also, motorsport.com.
Herta, won't he get a super license? Like there was there'll be stuff I'm forgetting as well. There was just so much.
3 of the things in that article are mine. So
I was just gonna say thanks to Freddie for that, because he did help for half of it, so he can have 60% credit.
60% credit. All right, cool. Yeah. Send it over in the. I'll send you my PayPal.
Okay, cool. Next, Adam.
Go on, chop. We've got a podcast to get through.
All right, calm down. Who's the best team of the year?
Red Bull.
Who
Move on.
put that on there? What?
Yeah, why are we asking that question? We know.
Why are we asking that question?
AlphaTauri.
Nigel. Well, speaking of AlphaTauri, we go swiftly on to disappointment of the year.
Oh, good one.
Freddie, who's your disappointment of the year?
Actually, it's Williams, but I could also throw Pierre Gasly into that. Yeah.
I see where he's coming from.
Really?
Well, yeah. They're last.
Yeah, but realistically, were they going to be higher?
It's a rule reset.
Well, if you look at sort of Alfa Romeo and Haas have made step ups, and Williams just didn't. So I feel like they should have been mixing up there a bit more for my liking.
Yeah, no, I completely get what you're coming from.
You could say Albon was in the second half of the season, to be fair. And I think you could also say that AlphaTauri said they've made the best car they've ever made, and then they were 9th in comparison to when they shouldn't have been there based on the late turbo hybrid era. Latest, where the last few seasons. So I think, it's an interesting one. I think you could definitely put AlphaTauri in there, but I don't know. I feel like Williams' trajectory coming into this season was definitely one where they were due a step up again, and it just didn't happen.
Okay.
Which I think is not wonderful for the Jos Capito FX to Maison alliance, who were sort of so pointing to it, and it just didn't happen.
You might have convinced me with that, but what I was going to say before that is Mercedes. It just has, like, the Constructors' Championship run has ended for the first time because they've won it from 2040 to 2021 every season. One race win. Houghton's streak is over in terms of poles and wins in every season he's competed. Only been in the win for the fight 3 or 4 times. Silverstone's and for Brazil, and then somewhere else I probably forgot.
Kota, maybe, but it's all
Kota.
half fights, isn't it? Like, yeah, you're
so,
right. It has been a disappointment, and their trajectory, the development through the season wasn't really as good as they were saying it would be.
Yeah, and I think that's a big thing for me. There was such a big fuss made about the no side pod concept, and when it first came out, I think we did the podcast, and I was like saying it might not translate into performance, so it didn't because they had the porpoising problems, and then they had the porpoising problems for quite a while, and it's just I think they're in this what we're going to see over the next 6 months is what this Mercedes team is really made of, because they've done it's obviously not easy, but they've done the easier bit of being at the front. Now it's seeing what can they do when they're down? Can they come straight back up, or is this the new normal for them? Let's say. So yeah, I think Mercedes for me, just because the car wasn't there and the development, even though towards the end of the season it did get a bit better, I'd put that more down to Red Bull developing less rather than Mercedes getting better for me.
I think, yeah, the disappointment in Mercedes does complement then the operations of the race team, to be fair.
Yeah. I agree there both. I think Williams, it's kind of easy. It's easy to forget how disappointing the season has been for Williams, because, like Nigel, you said, well, where are they going to be? Well, if you're not going to make a step forward under the biggest rule change in an F1 generation, then, like, when will you? Are you just hoping that you get a 2016
They were 8th last
season
year.
every now and then? Like, it's just been, this, like, what are you getting excited about for Williams right now? Like, looking
not that far behind, I don't think.
Looking at the near future, but like, this was the chance to get, a lot, not be the one that's not be the one that's behind everyone else. So yeah, I think it's kind of easy to forget they're there, and just to be the kind of forgotten team running at the back again, really, really disappointing. But they have got Albon, so they're not there. I think AlphaTauri as well. There's just not been great, and Pierre Gasly could be into that as well. But I'll go for a bit of a different one. The Miami Grand Prix was awful, and it just, it was just like, it was on every level it was disappointing, and the fact that they've got the Vegas Grand Prix coming in, hopefully Kota will keep its spot, but like, I think it's just already, for me, it would be an event on the chopping block, and I know I'm unpopular in saying that, but I'm sticking by it.
On the list of things we've got to do, well, not got to do because we don't have to do, but on the things we plan to do, most underrated was on it, and I think it's a good time to talk about it now, because Miami was going to be mine, because we had a lead battle at the front after the safety car. Verstappen had to get past both Ferraris, good action in the midfield as well. Like, it was not that bad at all. It was like top 10 race, probably.
It lagged in the middle, but it was better than a lot of races this year. I think it's an easy one to hate on because it was such a sort of star-studded event. It was such an event, and I think I don't see too much wrong with making a big event when you're making, and it's the first of that event as well. And
if you're going to make a big event, then don't do it like just in the middle of a bit of the city that no one goes to unless you go to an NFL game. Don't do it like in Miami where you could actually have a marina. Then don't have a fake marina with fake water. Like, it's just the whole.
Well, yeah, but those are things that are kind of quite the fake marina thing is kind of quite small in the end of the day. Like,
it just adds into the whole thing. Like, it was just a really disappointing event. I thought the race just wasn't very good.
So we had a lead battle, and you still didn't think it was good.
Yeah, because it was like,
it wasn't a very good lead battle.
Yeah, it's not.
McLaren nearly went for a dive at one point.
Oh yeah, later on it was better. Later on it was better.
How many lead battles have we had this year, Adam?
No, let's not go into it.
It's about half. That's why it's right in the middle. There's a race. It's underrated.
It was the race I had the most FOMO for a long time, to be fair.
Okay.
And I think for what it's trying to be, I think that says a lot. Like, it's trying to be a big old party race event thing to go to, and I did really want to be there because I did think, you can go to some races where definitely, and rightly so, the main event is the race, but everything else is just sort of sitting around waiting for the next session. Whereas if you go to the Miami Grand Prix, it looks like you go there and you have a great time for the whole time. So,
but then the problem is you got Vegas on the calendar next year, which will be. I
don't think that's a problem. I think that's an addition.
But I'd take out of the two of them. Like Vegas will be spectacular. It'll be one of the best looking Grand Prix of the year. It will just be like so. And compare that to Miami, where it's just not. If you took a snapshot of the Grand Prix, it could be any like city in the southern half of America. So yeah, I just don't. I think it was a disappointing event and race, and yeah, we disagree on that. Freddie, what's your most underrated moment?
The Miami Grand Prix? No. Underrated moment, is that all right?
Race
yeah, well, that's what Nigel threw out. So,
I said race, didn't I?
Oh well, there we go.
Oh, whatever. There's something underrated.
Did you add that onto the list as I was talking about it, or is it just on the bottom?
It says last edit 1 hour ago.
Oh, okay.
It's a very tricky, underrated moment. Thank you for stalling for me, for a bit there, guys. I'm still a bit struggling here, because I do feel like I'm just going to end up pointing at sort of shout out moments of the season that I liked. That probably, if you thought, oh yeah, that's all right. Like, there's not really anything I can really think of that. I think
Canada qualifying, I think people forget about like now. It was one of the best qualifying sessions.
The Canada race, I think, was underrated.
I think like Saudi Arabia is like people have, it's kind of forgotten. So it's like where you draw the line within that. But I think, that was one of the best.
Yeah, it was 6 months ago. And it is easy to say, oh, but to be fair, where were we talking about it in July? And as quite highly. So, there's an element of, is recency bias going to come in? And this is getting too theoretical now.
Welcome to our GCSE site. It's not GCSE. Would this be GCSE?
No, this is a podcast.
Sorry. Yeah.
We're not marking you, Nigel.
I've always been judged.
Okay, so I guess most underrated moment of the season would have to be the
move on, Adam. Quick, move
on.
Have you just stood on something?
Yes, I've just stood on something. Sergio Perez's drive in Monaco was quite good. That wasn't underrated though. I don't know. I'm struggling. Someone else answer.
No, that's a great answer, Adam. What's yours?
I think I'm gonna. Despite all of Freddie's stalling, I still don't have a better answer, which reflects.
It's a hard question.
I'll go with Saudi Arabia. I'll go with Saudi Arabia just because I think people have forgotten about it because it was so long ago. I think it was 8 months ago now.
We said it in our podcast that we recorded for the top 5 drivers. We said the Saudi Arabia race was very good.
But it's not like, because if we can't rate something and then if we think it's underrated, then we think it's better than it was. So therefore we rate it as rated. So everything we think of is rated as a collective. So you need to think of the wider
as a collective.
Sphere.
As a collective.
Yes. Collective Winging It F1 podcast. So yeah, I think as the F1 for the F1 public, I will go with that. And we will swiftly move on back the other way.
Silverstone qualifying. Actually, I suppose it was very good. See, this is the thing. It's just shout out moment time now. That was good.
That's what you should be good at. That's what you do all year. Shout outs.
Shout outs. Yeah. That was good.
We just do shout outs to ourselves. So we'll move on to worst race of the year swiftly from that. I think you know where my thoughts lie. Nigel, what's your worst race of the year?
Mexico City Grand Prix. It was so dull. And I think did the top 6 change at all?
Sainz got past Leclerc.
No, from like after lap 1, did it? I can't remember if it changed a lot, but no. Well, there we go. And it was clear what was going to happen. It was the problem with Mexico, the altitude, the way the tires work. It's never going to be.
You can't blame them for the altitude. They can't move it.
I think it was a Mexico City Grand Prix that really took a lot of people off the idea of having Mexico City Grand Prix because there are too many, there are too many Grand Prix.
I'm also rating it as the worst race of the year, but I think one of the reasons for me is that it promised so much.
Yes.
And I think I said this on our review pod. Had the tyre strategy that Mercedes and Red Bull went with, had it been the opposite way around, the same race would have happened, just with Mercedes in the lead rather than Red Bull. And I think had they been on a similar strategy, then it might have been really interesting. I think the pace could have been relatively similar and could have been a very interesting race, although it did seem to be the race where the gaps were the biggest between the cars, which at that stage in the season was a bit disappointing. So yeah, I do think it had potential and lost it.
I really
which
think
I rank
it has.
highly as a bad reason.
In terms of races, F1 has made it very clear will be on the calendar, and then races fans want on the calendar. There is a surplus there, or sorry, a surplus there between what will actually be on a 25 race calendar. And I think Mexico City turned kind of a lot more fans were on the bandwagon beforehand. I think really, if you're looking at reasons to, and this is quite a big conversation to get into, but if you're looking at reasons to, take it, it's maybe, F1's geographical spread, maybe the Mexican fans are very good for Perez, but outside of that, I don't think there's too many things for it. And I think kind of that was exposed maybe this season. So yeah, in terms of, I think
that's a very interesting wider conversation. We should put a pin in for the off season.
It is the off season now, but we shall put a pin in
for the off season. The off 2023 begin.
Yeah, time. This is still like season review season.
Yeah,
not off season.
The season only finished the other day. We haven't had the FIA prize giving, so technically we're still in the season, unless they just did it.
And seeing as we're talking about races, we shall round out with our top 5 races of the year, which I haven't made any notes for. So I'm going to come to Nigel first because he wrote it on the doc, so he should.
Yeah, Nigel.
It's interesting because you said it's the most underrated thing before, and I think Saudi Arabia's first for me. I think that's the best race of the year. Is there any disagreement to that?
What is your ranking?
Oh, right. So I must say my full list. Sorry, I thought you was going to talk. I've got Saudi Arabia, British Grand Prix, US Grand Prix, the Austin one, obviously, Bahrain Grand Prix, and the Hungarian Grand Prix. That's my top 5.
No Brazil?
I think Brazil. He didn't say Brazil.
I think the winner was quite clear for most of the race after the Verstappen incident with Hamilton. And I think that for me, you need a lead battle.
Adam, what's your 5?
Race.
I mean, I definitely put Brazil in there. Probably ahead of the Austrian Grand Prix. I think as a race weekend, the Brazilian Grand Prix was fantastic.
And you've got to factor that in, I think, because it's Grand Prix ranking, aren't we? Or races.
Yeah, sprint qualifying was fantastic. So I'll probably move that in.
We're thinking on the spot. This is how we think.
Yeah, I don't know. I totally off gut. I'll go British Grand Prix first, Saudi Arabia second, Bahrain third, Brazil fourth, Hungary fifth.
Okay. Yeah. Have you got a list ready?
Canada was good though. No, I'll put that in fifth instead of Hungary. Will I? I don't know. I'll have a joint fifth like Freddie wanted to last time, and we shut them down. And now I will have a joint fifth place.
I'm going to say Silverstone, then Interlagos weekend. I really enjoyed Kota, but that's going to go fifth because I'm going to put Bahrain and Saudi Arabia as third and fourth.
I'll just interject. I was noting down Nigel's and I put Os and then thought that was Austria. So that's why I put it in and he looked very confused.
I was going to say Austria
was a good race. I enjoyed Austria.
I'll take out. Yeah, it would go in ahead of Kota then. But yeah, sorry.
Very good strategic drive from Ferrari and Leclerc. It was very interesting. He overtook Verstappen 3 times in that race. And I think
which he should have done, and he did.
Yeah, and it was interesting to see it play out. But yes, there we go.
Anyway,
dead races.
Yes, we have races. Well, what was yours? So you both went for British Grand Prix as number 1.
Yeah,
I think so. I can't remember.
We mentioned the wet qualifying earlier, and then there was the race itself. I thought it was good.
I
do disagree with the British Grand Prix from the perspective of the reason that Charles Leclerc didn't win that, and I do think that was one of the stupidest strategy positions of Ferrari this year. But so I do. There is a note on that which is critical, but it was fun to watch.
I mean, it's one of those that the three drivers in the best position to win it over the weekend, none of them won it. I think Verstappen would have, if he'd been at the front.
Well, Sainz in a good position when he got pole position, and then he won it.
Hamilton, I think, if it wasn't for the safety car, I think he would have been there. And then Leclerc really should have been the one to do it, for both the start and the end of the race before, I guess, the strategy. So
I think it's the race I'd rewatch the most out of this season, and puts it quite high.
I'd agree with that. And then, I think Canada was really good as well. I really like Canada. So I think part of me putting it in that top 5 is just that I like F1 being back there. And it was nice to see that it, that kind of paid off. So, yeah.
But Adam can't wait for Portimao to replace the Chinese Grand Prix.
In the review for Canada, Adam was not saying good things about the race. I remember.
Just that's why we're doing a season review. That's why we didn't. Why we didn't do our top 5 races. Why we didn't do our top 5 races after every race. So there we go.
Just quickly on after the first race. Just quickly on Saudi Arabia over Silverstone for me. I think what I prefer is a, let's say, hardcore lead battle between two top drivers. I feel that's what excites me most about motorsport. And that's what we got between Leclerc and Verstappen. It's one of the greatest battles I've seen in F1 over the last 15 years or so. I mean, the tactical battle with the DRS, that kind of thing, it went down to the last 3 or 4 laps. They were pushing the limits on a really difficult, challenging circuit up against the walls. Like, that was like pure motorsport for me. So I think that's why it just edges it over the drama, let's say, of Silverstone and the racing that we had. It was a different type of racing that we had at Silverstone, and for me, I prefer the former. So yeah,
that's cool. That's a good reason. It was a good fight for the lead. I agree.
Yeah,
I agree with the ranking, but we don't need to go into that now because it's just
I think for me, it's like I think there's just like an intangible. Generally, I think there's just like an intangible element, like whether I feel drawn into it, and it's quite hard to put a finger on that or like put any prerequisites for that. But that's my thoughts. As Freddie said, we do have best overtake to talk about. So, Freddie, what's your best overtake of the season?
Sebastian Vettel on Kevin Magnussen at the US Grand Prix, and
around the outside
of that long sort of Turkey-esque corner. Turn 16
and 15, 16, 17, I think.
Oh, there we go.
The last two corners are 18 and 19, so 15, 16, 17.
The big long one. And I really liked it. I thought it was very good. And I kind of look at that and think, he's retiring. Oh. But anyway.
Yeah. He said that about Vettel, not Magnussen.
About Vettel. Magnussen also drove very well in the overtake, being overtaken, of course. Particularly given the tyres he was on, he could have understeered straight off the line. But with that, both drivers drove excellently, and Vettel just did excellent.
Interestingly, I've also gone for that race, but I've gone with Leclerc on Perez. It was a bit of a dive bomb after lap 15, 20, can't remember what lap it was, into turn 11, 10 or 11.
End of the straight.
The end of the
turn
back
11.
straight.
It's turn 11. It's the end of the straight.
It was a surprising.
It's turn 12.
Oh, turn 12. Anyway, at the end of the back straight, it was a surprising move. We don't see too many of them since we've had these wider F1 cars, and it just kind of came from nowhere. Perez moved a bit late as well in the braking zone, but still got it stopped on the brakes, didn't lock up, was under control. That was brilliant driver skill from a top driver. I think that's my favourite overtake this year.
I'll go with Freddie. I mean, I think there's not been, in previous seasons, there were maybe more. Felt like there was a bit more kind of, a lot of them are, I mean, there's a lot that were just like quite basic for all we're saying about the, for all we're saying about the kind of raciness of the cars. I think kind of, I don't know, if I was going to throw another one in there, maybe Leclerc, Verstappen at the start of the season, and maybe set the tone for the start of the season, which then didn't carry through. But I think in terms of just as an overtake, I'd say, the Vettel Magnussen one was better. Agreements, that's what we loved. Oh, disagreement, because Nigel disagrees, but respect between peers, F1 journalists, that's what we love to hear. But as Freddie high fives the screen, we're going to say thank you very much for listening to this for our awards ceremony of the season. It's not Hollywood award season, but it is Winging It award season, and we have dished out awards. So thank you very much for listening to that. We will be back 4 more times over the off season, not 4 more times. We will be back more times over the off season.
Thank you for listening for the 2022 season. It's been fantastic. It's our 3rd.
It has.
And see you in 23, I guess.
Yeah, we will see you soon. But for now, goodbye.